Alrighty. After we finish this level guide, we'll be halfway done with Rundown 6. And so far, things haven't been too troublesome yet. Levels have been fairly simple and straightforward up to this point, so I've had no trouble in making these level guides concise and easy to understand. And I'm sure that it'll stay like this for the rest of the rundown, and things won't get too terribly complicated, and I won't have to worry about making super long level guides, and everything will be fine, right? I am not looking forward to some of the upcoming level guides. But I won't have to worry about that for the time being, so hey, let's focus on the present and let's go over everything you need to know to beat R6B2. As always, let's start off with your loadout. For this level, I recommend you bring with you a bio tracker, a mine deployer, a C-foam launcher, and any sentry of your choice. Personally, I prefer to bring either an auto sentry or a burst sentry with me, but the sniper sentry works just as well, assuming you know how to position it properly. When it comes to the bio tracker, I like to take this because there's a lot of infectious fog in this level. And because of this fog, sometimes it's difficult to see enemies, but in other situations, you're going to have to deal with alarms in these type of rooms, so you'll be going down into the fog to do the scans. And this fog will make it a lot harder to see enemies coming after you, even if you do have fog repellers dispersing it a bit. So having a bio tracker to be able to tag these enemies from afar and make it so you can even shoot back at them without even physically seeing them will help out quite a bit. When it comes to the mine deployer and the C-foam launcher, I like to take this because there are quite a few alarm doors you're going to have to deal with in this level, and there will also be a few blood doors, and no tool deals with blood doors as effectively as the mine deployer. And if you're going for the extreme objective, you're going to have to deal with 2 additional blood doors, and you're going to have to do 2 uplink terminals. And one of the best way to deal with most uplink terminals is to just simply C-foam the door that enemies are trying to break through. That way you can just keep them outside until you finish pretty much every single one of the scans, then let them come in, most of them blow up to a mine, and you don't have to worry about more and more waves of enemies spawning in afterwards. So very beneficial, especially if you go for the extreme objective. And finally, when it comes to the sentry, this is just a little bit of extra firepower to help out during the alarm doors or when you're in a little bit of a tough situation. It's useful, but not as useful as a mine deployer, the C-foam launcher, so put some tool refill into it, but don't focus most of your tool refill into the sentry you bring along with you. It'll also be quite helpful for the extreme objective when you're doing the uplink because one person will be stuck on the terminal, so they can't really shoot too often. So having a sentry to sort of replace that 4th person and make it so the other 3 people don't have to shoot nearly as much will help out. It'll make it so that your ammo is a little bit more balanced and preserved. Just keep in mind though that depending on which type of sentry you brought in, you're going to want to position it differently because each sentry has its own strengths and weaknesses. So play to the strength of your sentry and make sure you're positioning it properly. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect a DNA sample from a specific HSU, and this HSU will always be located inside of Zone 64. You start off inside Zone 57, and in here you'll find 3 security doors as well as a lot of fog repellers. And I highly recommend everybody on your team grab a stack, because there's going to be a lot of infectious fog in this level, and you do not want to just mindlessly gain infection and cap your HP. So grab these fog repellers, there are many of them throughout the entire level, so don't worry about being too sparing with them, and just keep on moving forward. As for the 3 security doors inside this zone, one of them will lead you to Zone 58, which is an optional resource zone, one will lead to Zone 59, and one of them will lead to Zone 61. Now 61 is where you ultimately need to go to make your way to the HSU. However, the security door is locked and requires a colored keycard to get into it, and this keycard will always be located inside Zone 60. So you can go to one of 2 different locations. If you want to get those optional resources, you can go to Zone 58. It is just a full team scan. The only threat about it are the enemies inside. Or if you think your team is good and you don't need them, you can head to the east and go to the security door to Zone 59, which is going to be a Class 4 alarm door. As you can see with the map overlay, enemies can spawn in 2 different locations, technically 3 if you open up the security door to Zone 58. However, this 3rd spawn location doesn't change up how you're going to strategize for this alarm. Most of the time, enemies spawn to the south, so I highly recommend you mine and C-foam this door right here. And this door, you could just simply place a mine on it, as most of the time, enemies do not come from this direction, so you don't want to C-foam it, as if you do, it most likely won't be used whatsoever. You can also place your sentry down on the inside of the room facing towards the southern door if you want to, but this is also optional. Once you finish this alarm door, you can head on in to Zone 59. Inside Zone 59, there'll be some more enemies, there'll be more infectious fog, but more importantly, on the far eastern side of it, you'll find a security door that leads you to Zone 60, and this is where your keycard is going to be. However, this security door is going to be a Class 3 alarm. And normally I would show you a map overlay, but apparently I actually forgot to get a screenshot of this security door, so instead I'm just going to tell you, hey, you got 2 entrances into your room, 1 door down below, 1 door up above, and assuming both of them are kept shut, they'll always take the door up above. So mine and seafoam that one, place it essentially on the inside of your room on that catwalk up there, and you should be good. The security door is down in infectious fog, so make sure you throw a fog repeller when you activate it. Do all 3 sets of scans, deal with all the enemies, then throw another fog repeller down, open up the security door, and head right on in. Zone 60 will never have any enemies in it, no resources. The only thing valuable that you can get from here is that key card. There is a terminal in the first room to the right, so if you want to throw a fog repeller over there and use it to ping the key, or you can throw one to the left where the door is, go into the second room where the key card almost always is located, and look around for it. Get in, get out, and then make your way all the way back to Zone 57, and you could put that key into the security door to Zone 61. Once you put the key in, you'll see that the motion sensors are triggered on the other side of the door. This isn't anything too big, it's just to indicate that this is a blood door. And if you've never dealt with a blood door before, all you need to do is place a mine down like you can see me doing, open the door, and then back away from it. The door will open up after a few seconds, a bunch of enemies will already be awake right next to it, most of them will get blown up by the mine, and then you just have to shoot and kill the few remaining ones that survived. And once you're done, you can head to Zone 61. Now that we're in 61, our next main goal is to make it to Zone 63, as that's sort of our next central hub location, which getting there isn't too terribly difficult. The security door to Zone 62 is just a checkpoint scan, and the security door to 63 itself is just another full team scan. So collect resources, deal with enemies, be careful of the infectious fog, and just start making your way to Zone 63. Once you're inside Zone 63, you'll be able to find 3 more security doors as well as the bulkhead door control in the middle of the room. Which, if this is your first time seeing stuff like this, don't worry, it's not too complicated. It's basically how optional objectives work in the level. The security door to the south is Zone 64, which is where you need to go for your main objective. And the one to the north leads you to Zone 223, which is where your extreme objective is. However, both of these doors are under lockdown and you need to put a bulkhead key into the door control in the middle of the room. However, there is no way to have one up to this point, as your first bulkhead key will always be located in Zone 65, which is to the west of you. So we're going to need to go over there and get the key from that location. However, that security door is going to be a Class 4 alarm, so we're going to need to prepare for it. Not only do we need to set up defenses though, we also need to clear out this room, because there are a lot of enemies in here, but most of them will be down below in the fog. And instead of just throwing a lot of fog repellers and trying to stealthily deal with them, I honestly just recommend you shoot your gun and just wait for the enemies to come to you. That way you don't waste a ton of fog repellers. So make sure every enemy in this room is dead, then you can start working on setting up your defenses, because the security door to Zone 65 is going to be a Class 4 alarm. As you can see, enemies can spawn in 3 different rooms, and no matter which room they spawn in, they're going to have to break down their own individual door, and then they'll go through the open security door into your room. So I recommend you place a mine on all 3 of those doors, and then place your sentry somewhere near that open security door. That way it'll shoot, weaken, and maybe even kill some of the enemies as they're coming through. When it comes to your seafoam though, don't use it whatsoever. Seafoaming all 3 of the doors is a bit of a waste, and there's really no way to predict which door they'll break down, so just hold onto your seafoam for now. Once everything is prepared though and you're good to go, throw a few fog repellers into the room, activate the alarm door, and then start working on the scans. Pick up more fog repellers if you find boxes down below, and just make sure you're not sitting in a scan that's covered by infectious fog. Once you finish it and all the enemies are dead, you can head into Zone 65. Not only will you find the first bulkhead key inside Zone 65 somewhere, but you'll also be able to find a security door to the back end of it that leads you to Zone 66. However, the security door is under lockdown and you will not be able to open this until you get the DNA sample from the HSU. So keep this place in mind, as you will be coming back to it later. With the bulkhead key in hand though, you can head back into Zone 63 and put it into the door control. Once you do that, 2 full team scans will appear. One for your main objective door, and one for your extreme, or secondary as it's known, security door. Now, if this is completely new to you and this is your first rundown and you've never done a level with optional objectives, this is sort of how things work. Your entire team has to decide on which objective you're going to do, since there are always going to be full team scans. However, if you want to do every single objective in one run, you have to do them in a specific order. For example, in this level, if you want to do the extreme objective, you have to do that one first and then the main objective. Because if you open up the main objective door, you can't get your hands on another bulkhead key, which you need in order to unlock extreme. The only other bulkhead key in this entire level is located behind the extreme bulkhead door. So you have to open up that one first, go and collect that key card, and then come back and do your main objective. So if you are somebody who is only interested in the main objective and you do not care about the extreme one whatsoever, jump to the time that you see on screen. I'll meet up with you there and we'll talk about Zone 64 and how to complete the level. If you are somebody who wants to complete everything though, select your extreme objective, do that full team scan, and then meet me by the north to the security door that leads you to Zone 223. Okay, so you're selecting the extreme objective. So head to the north to the bulkhead door to Zone 223, do the checkpoint scan that is tied to the door, and once you finish it, the door will automatically open up for you shortly afterwards. Head on in and you'll see that your extreme objective is to find 2 specific terminals and create an uplink at both of them. One terminal will always be inside of Zone 224 and the other will be inside of Zone 225, which both of these zones are directly connected to Zone 223. To the west, you'll find the door to 224, which is a blood door, and to the east, you'll find the door to 225, which is another blood door. You can do these 2 doors in any order you want, but for numerical sake, we'll start with Zone 224. So, do the full team scan, place a mine down or 2, deal with the blood door, and once you are finished with that, you can head right on in. Zone 224 will never have any enemies spawning in it naturally, but it will have a few resources, and it will also have your first uplink terminal. So let's look at a map overlay for it. Now, normally during uplink terminals, enemies spawn 2 rooms away from you, but enemies can never spawn outside the zone that the uplink terminal is in. So they're going to be spawning in the 2 rooms connected to you. You could have one person stand one of the other rooms to force it so they only spawn in the one room with nobody in it, but in all honesty, that's not really necessary in this case, so we'll be doing a different strategy. So since there are 2 doors that lead into your room, I recommend you mine and seafoam both of them. Then the person with the seafoam launcher, you ideally should have a tool refill pack on hand, and you are going to continuously re-seafoam this door right here, because this door is right next to the person on the terminal. So if they break through that, enemies are going to rush that person and kill them very quickly. As for the northern door, you don't really need to worry about that because the other 2 people on your team could be positioned near it. That way, if that door gets broken down, they can just shoot and kill anything that comes from that direction. There's only 4 codes to this uplink, so as long as your tool refill person has a decent amount of tool refill on them, or maybe if you found 1 or 2 seafoam grenades, you should be fine. So keep that closed door shut at all times. Other 2 people focus on the enemies coming from the north. This is also, you can have your sentry to give you some extra firepower, and person on the terminal, focus on the codes. Once you finish all 4 of them, the uplink is finished, no more enemies will spawn in, deal with whatever is still alive, and once you're done with it, you can head to Zone 225 and deal with the second uplink. Zone 225 is very similar to Zone 224. You're going to have to deal with the blood door in order to get into it. There will be no enemies naturally sleeping throughout the zone, there will be quite a few resources waiting for you, and even the way you set for the uplink terminal is going to be quite similar despite the fact that this zone looks nothing like Zone 224 did. As you can see with the map overlay, enemies could spawn in 2 different rooms. If they spawn in this room down here, they will go through this door and then this door to get into your room. However, if they spawn in this room down here, they will go through this door and then this door to get into your room. So what you're going to want to do is mine and seafoam both of these doors, and then you're going to want to have the person with the seafoam launcher positioned near this door. That way they can re-seafoam it over and over again until either the uplink's finished or they're out of seafoam. A person who's doing the uplink will obviously be on the terminal, and then the other 2 people are going to position themselves sort of halfway between the person on the uplink terminal and the person seafoaming the door. That way they could defend both of them, and they're going to have the sentry placed down next to them. That way, if enemies break down that door to the southeastern side of the room, they can deal with them, and the person on the terminal could focus on the codes, and the person with the seafoam launcher could focus on keeping that door barricaded. And that's really all you need to do. Focus on your individual job. Once the uplink is completely finished, you can just let the doors break open, kill all the enemies, and once that's done, you have completed the extreme objective. There's nothing left for you to do but grab your second bulkhead key and head back out into Zone 63. By the way, I didn't mention it already, so that second bulkhead key will either be inside Zone 224 or 225. It's random, so check both zones if you haven't found it already, and once you have it, go back to the door control, plug it in, do the full team scan for the main objective, and then head down south to the security door to Zone 64. And we have returned. Welcome back, those of you who skipped ahead to this moment. We just finished dealing with the extreme objective, So let's group up with you and start talking about how we could complete the rest of the main objective and finish this level. So you have unlocked the security door to zone 64, but this is going to be a class 4 alarm door, so we need to prepare for it. Now, as you can see with me opening up the map overlay, there are many different spawn locations. Granted, if you are somebody who is only doing the main objective, you can completely ignore the northern portion because obviously that bulkhead door is kept shut for you, so enemies can only spawn to the west or to the east. Now, there's a few different spawn locations and there are many different doors you could mine, sea foam, or places you could put your sentry, so it might be a little bit overwhelming to figure out exactly what the best way to deal with this. Personally, I find just holding on to your resources is a little bit better. Unless if you just have a crap ton of tool refill and you have no idea what to do with it. In that case, then go out there and mine some of the doors randomly. Honestly, there's no better door than anything to mine. Or just simply place mines near the security doors. As for the sentry, if it's an auto or burst sentry, just bring it with you and place it down while you're doing scans. Or if it's a sniper sentry, just place it near one of the security doors leading into your room. That way it shoots enemies as they come in. This alarm door honestly isn't really great when it comes to setting up defenses, it's more so about you and just simply shooting the enemies. Thankfully though, as long as you at least just shut all those doors that they can break through, it will buy you time to do some of the scans. So set up your defenses however you want, throw some fog repellers down to the room, activate the door, finish those scans, go up above out of the infectious fog, and then just defend against any enemy still coming after you. A new wave might spawn in right when you're finishing the final scan, so wait a little bit, make sure you hear the battle music go away fully before you open up the security door and head into zone 64. As for zone 64 itself, not only will it have the HSU you need in order to complete the main objective, but it will also have a disinfect station, so if anybody on your team still has infection left, you can use this to fully remove it. So go into the zone, clear out any enemies you come across, find the resources and resupply a bit, use the disinfect station, and once you and your team are ready to go, find the HSU, go up to it, hold down E, which will initiate a full team scan, and then you just all have to stand next to it to complete this scan. Once you finish the full team scan, an extraction circle will appear in zone 67, so a forward extraction, not 57 we dropped into the level, and the security door to zone 66 that you found earlier inside zone 65 will now be unlocked. So you're going to want to head there, that way you can make your way to extraction. However, as soon as the scan finishes, an extraction alarm will initiate that will spawn in just a few enemies every 30 or 40 seconds. Overall, it's not too difficult to deal with. You could just kill all these enemies with melee and not even have to waste a single bullet. However, this isn't an excuse to stay in the level longer than you need to. So finish that scan and book it back into 63 as fast as you can, head west into 65, and make it to the far end on the western side where you'll find the security door to 66. This security door is just a full team scan, so no alarm tied to it. Once you finish the scan, open up the door and head into 66. In here, there will be a few enemies, so be careful of them. If you see a lot of them in the first room, deal with them either stealthily if you can, or just simply go loud and shoot them all together. And once you're in the clear, go to the back end of the room. Don't go into the next room, but go down into the infectious fog, because at the bottom of it, there will be a blood door that leads you to zone 67. So throw a fog repeller or two down to the fog, go down, place a mine on the blood door, activate it, fall back, the mine will deal with most of the enemies, you just shoot the remaining few, and then run in and go through the few doors you need to go through in order to get to your extraction scan. Mine and seafoam doors behind you if you're able to, get into the room with the extraction scan, plop your sentry down, and then just hold out on the extraction scan for a little bit. Once the scan hits 100%, you are done and you have beaten R6B2. And that's all there really is to it. Just like always, if you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then consider hitting that like button. It helps out the channel and it helps these videos get noticed by people who really need them. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I also have my own Discord server, so if you want to go the extra mile and become part of the community I'm building, hop right on in. Link is down in the description. Also in the description, you can find a link that will take you to the official GTFO merch store. So if you love this game and want to pick up some sweet merch, go take a look and see what they've got. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Until next time, keep those fog repellers close to you. This won't be the last time we see an abundance of infectious fog. And I'll see you all in the next video.